Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here for today's BU Alumni Career Webinar, Unlock Your Edge, How to Stand Out and Build the Career and Life You Love. My name's Jeff Murphy. I'm a member of the Alumni Career Engagement Team from the BU Alumni Association. Today's webinar is offered to our 389,000 alumni around the globe and, of course, all of our current students. We appreciate everybody who's tuning in today. Some of you locations very far away from our Boston campuses. Throughout your career, BU is committed to helping you define and achieve your professional goals. We aim to do this by providing everyone with access to a series of valuable programs, tools, and communities. In addition to this webinar series, one of our most exciting resources is a free online community called BU Connects. If you haven't already signed up, I hope you'll take just 5 minutes after this presentation to log in and set up your free profile at buconnects.com. We have over 35,000 BU alumni and students already on BU Connects. It is the very best place to build your professional network with other BU Terriers. You also can join regional or special interest groups for networking. And it also allows you to sign up to either become a mentor, find a mentor, or hopefully do both. Before I introduce today's speaker, just a couple of housekeeping notes from me. Today's presentation is being recorded and will soon be made available for on-demand viewing on the BU Alumni and Friends website, which you can find at www.bu.edu/alumni. Our speaker today is very eager to answer any and all questions that you have, and you're welcome to submit them throughout the presentation. You can do that by opening up your Zoom toolbar, click on Q&A. You can go ahead and type your question in at any time. I'll also keep an eye on the chat for questions if you're more comfortable asking your question there. And we're going to save some time at the end and hopefully get to as many of those questions as we can. It's now my pleasure to introduce our speaker for the day, BU College of Arts and Sciences and Pardee School alum, Minh Pham Costello. Minh is a career strategist, executive coach, and creator of the Joyful Powerhouse framework, a transformational 9-step method that helps high achievers unlock clarity, confidence, and momentum to create a career and life they love. She currently serves as Vice President, Director of Business Management for People and Culture Transformation at Santander, where she leads strategic initiatives that improve processes, drive organizational change, and shape the future of work. Minh is a proud BU alumna and Vietnamese immigrant, and her journey from navigating language barriers and working multiple jobs in college to becoming an executive leader and national speaker fuels her mission to help others stand out, own their voice, and achieve authenticity with, achieve success with authenticity, joy, and freedom. Minh, we are so excited to have you here today. I'm going to go ahead and ask you, you've got a slide deck ready to go. Why don't you go ahead and share that? Looks perfect. And the floor is all yours. Thanks again for being here today.
Awesome. It's so great to meet all of you here all over the world and so many Boston folks here. I'm also in Boston, so feel free to reach out. We can connect afterwards. But welcome to Unlock Your Edge and How to Stand Out and Build the Career and Life that you love. So this is just not another webinar, right? It's a call to stop settling for a version of success that looks good but does not feel like yours. So today you'll learn how to become unforgettable, not by being louder, but by becoming more of who you are. So you walk away with strategy to discover what makes you magnetic, right? What distinguishes your value with confidence and integrity. So, Terry, right? I know you. If you're in this room, I think I know you. You've done everything right. You got the degree, maybe even 2 from BU like I did. You landed the job, kept your LinkedIn updated, juggle life, career, and family. You're the one that shows up early, stay late, meets the deadline, say yes when no one else will. You refill the coffee, you hold everyone and everything together. But if you are being honest, there's a part of you wondering, right? Is this all that there is? Because you are smart, you're capable, you check all the boxes, but you also tired performing success while feeling a little bit disconnected from it. I've always been a dreamer, a TED Talk, best-selling book, global legacy kind of dreamer, right? So um, one night, 4 years after my mom and I moved to the US, when I was a student here at BU, I sat in a subway on Com Ave with my mom luxury dining at its finest, right? Two toasted tuna sandwiches, extra pickles, and one share fountain drink with two straw. I shared my dreams with her. I said, Mom, I'm going to speak on stages, travel the world, write a book, and I would love to start an orphanage one day. She smiled and nodded as if nothing made her happier than my success and my happiness. What about you, Mom? Like I leaned forward. What's your dream for me? She smiled. She said, I just want you to have a normal life, a good husband, and maybe a couple kids. I was like, wait, what? I'm over here trying to be Vietnamese Oprah, and she just wanted me to marry someone who could fix the Wi-Fi and take me to Costco. I laughed, but then I understood. My mom was a single mom who left behind her language, her career, her home for my future. She didn't have the luxury of dreaming about legacy, right? World stages. Her dream was simple: love, peace, stability. Far from small, her dream was really sacred. Maybe our dreams didn't have to compete. Maybe I could build for both of us. And that subway booth moment took me back to another memory. Year ago, um, when when we were traveling from the US, from Vietnam to the US, I was 17. She was 50. Three suitcases and one way ticket. No plan, right? Somewhere on the ocean, I turned to her and said, Mommy, what's your dream? Her answer was, I've always wanted to travel the world, but I could never afford to. And that's when I promised myself that someday, somehow, I would make her dream come true. Years later, I kept that promise. For my birthday, I took her on a Viking river cruise through Europe. And that was the first time I spent 8,000 on something, not on survival, but pure joy. And as we floated down the Danube, her lights lit up at every new city. And I said, this is it, I've done it. Yet standing on top of that deck of the ship with the lights of the Budapest, something stirred in me because why I had fulfilled my dream. For her, I had quietly abandoned my own. At the time, I was in a long-term relationship with someone kind and steady, but who didn't share my dreams. He didn't want to travel, didn't want kids, didn't crave the kind of life, that joy-filled, adventurous life that I long for. I kept telling myself, this should be enough, right? Maybe I wanted too much. On that boat, as I saw a nearby family laughing with their kids, tears welled up, raw, unfiltered, and undeniable. I want a family doing life together. I want a life that feels like mine. For years, I tried to meet everyone's expectation, be the responsible daughter, build a stable career, keep everything safe and steady. And I had measured my life by what would make others proud, what appear respectable, what seems reasonable. But that night, I stopped asking what was expected of me and started asking what was true for me. Wanting more is not selfish, it's honest, right? Dreaming of a joyful, abundant, adventurous life is not reckless, it's brave. So I began having conversations with other people everywhere, from my coaching clients to colleagues to friends. I saw the same pattern over and over again. Unlived dreams, quiet unfulfillment, silent compromises. Not because of lack of ambition, not because of the lack of work ethic, but because of dishonesty with ourselves. We silence the voice that says, this isn't it. We tell ourselves we should be happy. We smile, we achieve, we keep it all going. But something in us feels off, dim, disconnected. And the data back it up too, right? A study by Better Up found that people with a strong sense of purpose are 2.5 times more satisfied with their lives, 52% more resilient, and significantly more engaged at work. And those who lack a sense of purpose feel more stress, more burnout, more regret. Yet most of us never stop long enough to ask, what do I actually want? The truth is, we aren't burned out from doing too much. We aren't burned out from doing like overdoing things. It's actually because we do too little of what lights us up. And we've been taught to chase success, to work harder, to climb higher, achieve more, believing that it will eventually bring joy. But we had it all backwards, right? Joy doesn't come after success. Joy leads to success. And if you can't be joyful, deeply, sustainably joyful, if you constantly betraying who you are to fit a version of success that was truly, never truly yours, then that's the root of burnout, right? The numbness, that unsettled pull in your gut that says there is something more. You can't be fulfilled if you're not being honest, and you can't be free if you're not being you. So that was my epiphany. And once I honor it, everything began to change. But it didn't change overnight. It changed because I get intentional. I created a roadmap, one that helped me rebuild my life from the inside out, in alignment with who I truly am. That roadmap became what I now call a joyful powerhouse framework. This is a 9 step process designed to help ambitious professional like you stop settling, reconnecting with your truth, and build a life that's not just built for applause, but built for alignment and aliveness. The 5 steps are: number one, diagnose, get radically honest about what's working and what's not, discover, unearth the truth of who you are beyond titles and roles, and fall in love with the person within. Dream, reconnect with your deepest desire, unearth the boldest vision that you've been burying or delay. Decide, let go of indecision and commit fully to that version of you that you have been longing to become. Design, build a strategy that aligns with your values and not someone else's checklist. And do, right? You take courageous, aligned action, even when it feels scary or uncertain. Dynamite is when you cultivate energy, resourcefulness, and momentum to keep going without burning out. Distinguish, own your unique story, strengths, and voice. Let the world see you for who you truly are. And finally, delight. Step into your joy, lead, live, and love from a place of alignment, freedom, and power. So each of these pillars is designed to strip away any noise, reconnect you with your deepest truth, right? Without sacrificing your soul. Now, I wish I had more time to walk you through all the 90s today, but our time is limited. So I'm going to focus on 2 life-changing pillars: discover and distinguish. Let's talk about discover step so you can own what makes you unforgettable, right? So to truly stand out, you must first look within. Discover step is all about remember who you were before the world told you who you had to be, right? Because the truth is, you can't build a life you love by abandoning the parts of you that make you feel most alive. So, discover helps you reconnect with what you call your powerhouse signature, right? The unique combination of your essence, your expression, and your edge. So, your essence is your energetic fingerprint, right? Who you are at your core. Your expression is what you do so effortlessly and exceptionally well. And your edge is your story, your lived experience that shape your voice. First, let's talk about your essence. This is your emotional footprint, right? It's the energy you feel from people, right? Or like what people feel from you before you even say a word. It's your values, your interests, your present, and the way your life tells the truth about what matters to you. For me, my essence is made of the deep love for my family, my obsession with books and bags, if you can see in my background, right? Ideas and personal growth. I love elegance, beauty, and finer things in life. And I have a fierce desire for freedom: time freedom, financial freedom, and creative freedom. And actually, for a long time, I felt that I had to tone parts of that down, especially in corporate spaces. I was worried that I would be too much, too ambitious, too flashy, sometimes too Vietnamese, right? But what I eventually realized was this: the things that I thought I had to hide was actually my superpowers. That's the truth of essence. It's not something you need to earn, it's something you already are. And when you know it, you move so differently. When you own it, you stop performing and start leading. Because essence is what remains when you stop trying to prove yourself. People trust leaders who present aligns with their values. When you walk into a room already anchored in who you are, you don't have to fight for respect. You command it by being grounded. And expression. If essence is about who you are, then expression is about how you shine. And here's the trap that many high achievers fall into. We confuse what we are good at with what we're meant to do. We spend years operating in our zone of competence or even our zone of excellence, doing what expected, what pays well, what we praise for. But that's not really where fulfillment lives. According to Gay Hendricks in The Big Leap, I love this book, right? He talks about the four zones that we're typically operating in. The zone of incompetence, things that other can do better than you, yet you still do them. Zone of competence, things that you can do, but they don't really energize you. Zone of excellence are the things that you do extremely well and people reward you for it, but that can eventually lead to burnout. And last but not least, your zone of genius, right? This is your sweet spot, the work that lights you up and taps into your deepest natural talents and passion. And when you are here, time disappears and joy increases. Most high achievers live in the zone of excellence because that's what they get paid so well for, right? But when you really ship into the zone of genius, you don't necessarily need to quit everything to find a perfect job. All you have to do is start paying attention to the combination of skills that feel energizing, easy, and deeply impactful. And that's where the skill stacking comes in, right? Scott Adams says success isn't about being the best at one thing. It's about being really good at a few things. I think it's being really good, maybe top 25%. Then you combine them in ways that other don't, right? So skill stacking helps you build your zone of genius, especially if you realize that your expression is not just what you do, it's how you do it differently than anyone else. And that is what makes you irreplaceable. How do you know your expression? Here are some prompts that you can do. And don't worry, we'll send out the deck afterwards so you can take a look at these prompts as well. But think about what activities make time disappear for you, where you feel so focused, creative, and energized, right? What do people consistently ask you for help or advice on without you even offering at all? And what work drains you, even if you're good at it? What energizes you, even if it goes unnoticed? Um, and if you had to combine three of your top skills and strengths to create a new role, what would that look like? And when in doubt, ask for help, right? Who are the three people, colleagues, mentors, or close friends you can ask? What do you think is my superpower, right? Tell me. Sometimes superpower is so easy for us that we overlook. So it's important to reach out and ask for help. And let's talk about edge, right? If essence is who you are, expression is how you shine, then edge is a lived experience that shape your strengths, that makes your success mean something. And your edge isn't the pain you carry. It's actually the earned perspective, the kind of insight that doesn't come from books or mentors, but from showing up when the odds weren't in your favor, right? It's the imprint of your experience. So it's unmistakable, uncopyable, and unforgettable. When I think about my edge, right, I am a Vietnamese immigrant raised by a single mom who gave up everything she knew so I could have a better shot at life. So when we went to the US, came to the US, I was a teenager trying to learn a new language, navigate a new culture, and help my mom find her footing, all while trying to pay for school, chasing a future no one had modeled for me. I was told to play it safe, to blend in, to aim lower. And for a long time, I believe I had to prove my worth through overachievement. I applied for roles I knew I could thrive in, only to be told I was too soft spoken, not ready. I got rejected more times than I can count, but I kept going. I kept learning. And I decided If the door won't open for me, I will find the window or I will build my own door. So today, I've been promoted 12 times in 17 years. Not because it was easy, but because I kept showing up even when it was hard. So that resilience, that hunger, that ability to keep going, that is my edge. So what's yours? What's your edge? Right? So here's some prompt too. What has life taught you in the hard way that now makes your leadership feel more grounded? Right? What have you been overlooked, underestimated, but you rise anyways? What are some of the moments that shape your hunger to succeed? Who and what were you doing it for? What has your upbringing, culture, or circumstances given you that others might not see at first glance? And if someone else, right, you hear someone's story and say, oh, if someone else were living your story, what would you admire about them most? So when your essence, expression, and edge align, something magical happens. You stop chasing someone else's definition of success and start owning your unique brilliance. And that is the foundation of everything else. Because when you cannot control the narrative, right? You cannot build a career and life you love without knowing and honoring the truth of who you are. So that is the power of discover. Now that you remember who you are, it's time to let the world see it, right? Because clarity without visibility is just potential waiting in the shadow. And that is where we shift from self awareness to strategic presence. So let's step into the next pillar, distinguish, and learn how to be seen for the right reason in the right rooms without ever selling out who you are. And standing out isn't about being the loudest voice in the room, it's about showing up with clarity, consistency, and credibility. Let me tell you a story from one of my most defining moments in my career. It was one of the toughest seasons in my career. During the height of COVID, I was leading a team of over 100 people at a global bank, helping thousands of small business owners secure the fund needed through the Paycheck Protection Program. We were rewriting policy overnight, training hundreds of people by daybreak, working from 6 a.m. some day until midnight. I was pouring everything I had into making sure that small businesses, the heart of our community, survive. There were days that I barely ate, days I forgot what sunlight looked like. We were in the middle of the storm, and I was one of the people steering the ship. And in the middle of one of those exhausting days, an email popped up in my inbox, an automated rejection. Thank you for your application. After careful consideration, we have decided to move forward with more qualified candidates. I had applied to lead small business strategy, the very thing that I was living and breathing every day. I had even drafted a full strategic plan, and yet, without an interview, without a conversation, I was rejected. My hands shook, the sting of anger, that gut punch of injustice. After everything I've done, I'm not even worth a conversation. I took a breath, forwarded the email to my manager, waited. He called immediately apologizing, and then the head of the department called soon after. Turned out the system had been closed early. The position had been already filled, handpicked by leadership, and the posting was just a technicality. There was never a real opportunity. And I didn't even have time to wallow. Small businesses still needed savings. My team still needed leadership. But late at night, when the world grew a little bit quiet, I felt the hurt simmering under the surface. I make a decision. I can't control every room I'm not in, but I can control how I show up, who I connect with, and how I build my brand. I reach out to my mentor and now sponsor, an executive I had built a relationship with over the years. She knew my work, she knew my heart. She knew my reputation for stepping up, delivering, and leading with excellence when no one else was watching. I told her about the missed opportunity. I told her I was ready for something more. And then I waited and worked and trusted. 2 months after my mentor call, there's a leadership role opening in learning development. She said, "You didn't apply, but you were the fan favorite." Fan favorite? What does that even mean? It turned out that the leaders I had partnered with during those endless COVID nights, those impossible program launches that usually takes about 6 to 8 months to do one, we actually did two, my team and I, in 2 months. So those moments were the moments that I went above and beyond my official title. And they remember, they advocated, they spoke my name behind closed doors. A few pleasant conversation later, I got the promotion. I got the raise. I got the role leading learning development for a global bank, a role I hadn't even really technically been qualified for on paper. And that experience changed everything for me. It taught me a truth that no one really put in the employee handbook, right? Hard work matters. Talent matters, but visibility is what moves opportunity. And let's be honest, how often do we stay late? How often do we say yes, solve problems, and still go unseen? We've been taught to keep our heads down, hope someone will notice, but here's the truth. People can't advocate for what they don't know exists. And that's why I create the spotlight. My apologies. Um, that's why I created the Spotlight Method, a framework designed for high achievers like you who are just so tired of being the best kept secret. It's not about self promotion, it's about alignment, right? Say it with clarity, prove with result, own your edge, turn doubt into data, lead with value, initiate your present plan, grow through sponsor, hold the stage, and teach what you know. These framework right here is going to help you stand out. Number one, right? Say with clarity. If people can't say what you do, they can't see what you are capable of, right? Most high achiever are multi-talented, but that's very thing is what makes you kind of invisible because when you try to be everything to everyone, you become unforgettable to no one. So clarity is your amplifier. It turns your quiet competence into undeniable presence. Clarity creates trust, open doors, and helps others champion you in the rooms that you are not in. So the clarity formula, right? This is something that you can do. Ask yourself, what problems do I solve? Who do I help most? And what do people consistently thank me for? What's the transformation that I deliver? And then you boil that down to one sentence. I help who, do what, so they can, and talk about the outcome, right? Be your own headline. Because if someone had 10 seconds to introduce you, what would you want them to say? Say it clearly and say it often. Then you need to prove with result, right? Doing great work isn't enough if no one knows that it happened. Your results are proof of your value. If you don't claim them, they disappear. This isn't about self promotion, it's about visibility with integrity, translating the energy that you pour into your work into stories, into data, into outcomes that others can see, remember, and reward. And stop assuming that the work will speak for itself and start documenting the proof that it is working. Now, we talk about your edge already, right? What makes you different is what makes you undeniably valuable. Your edge is the perspective you have earned, the resilience you have built, the lived experience that gives your voice weight. You didn't read your way into this insight, you lived your way into it. And too often we try to blend in, want to sound polished, to fit into pre-written script. But real influence starts when you bring your full story into the room. Not just the shiny parts, but the parts that taught you depth, empathy, and discernment. So don't flatten your story to look more polished. Bring it with authenticity. Lead from what life has taught you, not just what your work has trained you, right? And turn doubt into data. Self doubt is loud, right? But proof is louder. Even the most accomplished people that you talk to will say they still wrestle with imposter syndrome, especially the stakes when the stakes are high, when the spotlight is on. But the goal isn't to silence doubt completely, it's to give it something stronger to stand on. Because your past results are the evidence that your future isn't built on luck. It's built on pattern, it's built on hard work, it's built on the delivery result that you have consistently delivered over and over again. So when you regularly document your wins, you transform those vague memories into undeniable momentum. And when the doubts show up, because trust me, it will. It show up with me every day, right? But you have the receipt that reminds you. You should create a confident file, a running document that have praises that you receive, results that you deliver, great feedback from peers, from leaders, and the moments that you were proud of when you handle something really hard. Review it before big meetings, negotiation, and interviews, not to inflate your ego, but to anchor your reality. That is your proof bank, and it earns compound interest every time you revisit it. I have done hard things before. I have delivered, and I can do this again. Next is lead with values. When your visibility is anchored in your value, it doesn't feel like self promotion, it feels like service. I love this quote so much from Zig Ziglar. You can have everything in life you want if you just help enough people get what they want. So, values are your internal compass. They are how people know what to expect from you, especially when the pressure is high. And the truth is, people trust consistency more than charisma. And your values lived out over time becomes the most trustworthy part of your brand. So always choose visibility strategy that feel honest, not just effective, right? Don't chase trends. Lead through truth, whether what you post, how you speak, and what you say yes to. Always ask this question. Does this reflect what I believe? When your values are visible, the right people will find you, and the wrong ones will filter themselves out, which is great for us, right? Now, initiate your present plan. What does that mean? It means that if you're not intentional about how you show up, people will fill in the blanks for you. We all have a brand. A lot of time we don't want to talk about personal branding, but we all have a brand already. So do you want it to just be the way it is, or you want it to be more intentional? Present is not just about being seen. It's about being strategic in where and how you are visible, right? Most people wait until they need visibility, until they lose their job, until they need something. But the most respected professional build it before they need it. And visibility isn't about being everywhere, right? It's about showing up consistently where it counts, right? Is that do you want to show up on LinkedIn maybe once a month, once a week, right? And just think about what platform you want to show up on, right? And then just be consistent and have a plan for it. Next is go through sponsorship. Your hard work matters, but so does who knows about it, right? Mentors give you advice, but sponsors give you access. They're the ones who speak your name in rooms that you're not in, the ones who say, you should really meet her. She is ready for this role. Sponsorship isn't favoritism, it's visibility with advocacy, right? Sponsor don't just appear though. They need to be cultivated through connection, contribution, and clarity. How to attract a sponsor? Because you can't just ask someone to be your sponsor, right? You can ask someone to mentor you, but sponsor is different. You need to deliver result consistently, especially under pressure. You build relationship across, not just up, right? Your next sponsor may be a peer who gets promoted. Let people know your goals. Like, don't be shy. Be bold and talk about what you really want out of life. Don't dim it down. Add value first. Always offer insight, perspective, and support before you ask for something. And remember, sponsors don't just support your work, they believe in your trajectory and they will speak on your behalf. Get you in the room that you don't belong right now. So ask yourself, who knows my work well enough to advocate for me? If the answer is unclear, pick one relationship to deepen right now, this month, this quarter, right? Because advocacy isn't earned through excellence, it's activated through connection. Remember that. Let's talk about hold the stage. Hold the stage isn't about having a mic or a spotlight. It's about how you show up in everyday moments, right? Whether that's your team calls, hallway chat, status update, panel discussion, or one-on-one with decision makers, right? These are day-to-day moments. People remember how you make them feel. When you lead with calm confidence, grounded energy, and thoughtful communication, you make an impression that lingers long after the meeting ends. Treat every interaction like it matters, because it does. Own your space, speak with intention, and don't shrink your energy to fit the room. Expand your room with your energy. Um, Last but not least, teach what you know. You solidify your value when you share it. And the fastest way to multiply your impact and elevate your visibility is to teach. It doesn't have to be formal or perfect, right? It's just generous. When you teach what you know, you become a trusted source, not just a skill doer. And visibility expands when you become someone other learn from, not just work with. And teaching builds legacy. It lifts people up and reminds you how much you have grown. So be the person you once needed, right? Share generously, reflect publicly, and create value beyond your role. Because the more wisdom you give away, the more your presence sticks. So the spotlight method that I just went over help you communicate your brilliance without apology, right? Build trust with decision makers and grow visibility without burnout. Because being unforgettable doesn't mean changing who you are. It means revealing more of who you have always been, right? I know that I've covered a lot. And the truth is, we're only scratching the surface because our limited time together, I couldn't go into detail all the layer of the spotlight method, but I've created a free workbook that dives deeper into each pillar with prompts, reflection tools, and exercise that can help you activate your visibility. So if you like a copy, just email me. Now let's bring everything together. Today, we have looked inward to rediscover who we truly are with Discover Pillar. We have explored how to make your brilliance visible with integrity using Distinguish. And through it all, I hope you felt one powerful truth take root. You do not have to become someone else to succeed. You just have to come home to yourself. Now, let me close it out with a full circle story, the one that reminds me what this journey is all about. On February 4th, 2025, I celebrated my 21st year here in America. It wasn't a loud, extravagant celebration. There were no fireworks, no big speeches, just an ordinary evening in our home, and yet it felt like the greatest milestone of all. I was on maternity leave, holding my 3-month-old baby Olivia in my arms, her full head of silky black hair brushed against my chin. This hair gave me the worst heartburn of my life during my pregnancy. But her eyes, she stared up at me with wonder, her smile with two tiny little dimples that could light up the entire room. And moments later, Lucas, my 2.5-year-old son, burst through the door, excited, talking about the school buses, excavator that he had seen on the way home from school. And at the dinner table, we gather. Me, my husband, the love of my life, and our two beautiful children, and my mom, who has sacrificed everything to bring me here. As we held hands, Lucas insisted actually invited all of us and insisted that we go through this nightly ritual. We always do. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Not once, but 10 times. He loved it so much, he made us repeat it again and again, giggling and squeezing our hands tighter each time, right? And looking at that table, around that table, I felt a wave of pure joy wash over me, right? We had been in this house for 5 years. We rarely ever missed dinner together. But sitting here, hand in hand, heart to heart, I realized this, this is the dream. This is the life that I dare to imagine back then. I thought back to the promises I made to myself in the last 21 years in America. Buy a car within 5 years, own a home within 10, earn six figures before 30, become a millionaire by 35, and get married and have two children by 40. I didn't hit every milestone perfectly. That car came a year later than planned, but nearly every dream had come true because of the clarity, discipline, resilience, and really that stubborn hope that I always hold on to my dreams. I still have audacious goals ahead of me, bigger dreams, deeper missions, but today I know for certain that everything from here is just extra sparkle. As long as I have my health, my family, there's nothing that I cannot achieve. Positivity and resilience, right, and authenticity have been my secret weapons, not just in success, but in survival as well. It's not that every day is easy. It's not that I don't have challenges, but somewhere along the way, I've learned to find happiness in the journey, not at the destination. So I leave you with this. It's something inside you whisper, this isn't it. I want you to know that that's not a crisis, that's a calling. You are not broken, you're just ready for the next step in your life, in your career. And now that you see the path, you can walk it with power, with clarity, and with joy. So please go out there, unlock your edge, and build the career and life that you truly love. Thank you so much.
Man, holy cow. I have to tell you, and Ying mentioned just how powerful your presentation has been, and I have to agree with Ying. I've hosted over 100 of these, and I've never taken as many notes as I did today. I don't know if you're familiar with sports too much, but there's this saying about how coaches can inspire their teams to want to run through walls, and that's how you've got me feeling today, through brick walls. That's how you've got me feeling. This was outstanding, and to know that you've only just covered I think two out of was it nine uh, pieces pillars in the spotlight framework. It's really got me wanting more. So holy cow! Thank you so much for doing this for us today. I have a ton of questions for you, but before I break the ice, I want to invite. We got a lot of folks just chiming into the chat to say thank you and say how impactful this was today. But please go ahead and let's. We've got a couple minutes here to ask Min any questions. About anything that she covered today. I loved your um, the way that you break down visibility, right? And the idea that the whole time I was thinking about LinkedIn and the way that people are trying to get that spotlight on themselves on LinkedIn. And that's for, I think, so many of us, I won't speak for everybody, but like it's a turnoff to see other people trying to get this attention, to get credit for things that feel so inauthentic. And so the way that you center everything around authenticity really resonates with me. I also love the way that you broke down the difference between a mentor and a sponsor. And one of the things that you touched on, particularly with sponsors, was, that's not something you can ask. You've got to do the work of building, deepening relationships with you. And I'm guessing that we could spend a whole other hour together talking about this, but what advice do you have for folks about feeling like they need to deepen those relationships? How do you go about doing that? How do you go out and deepen a relationship enough that somebody wants to talk about you positively behind your back when you're not in the room?
Honestly, do the work, right? This not it's not a sexy answer, but it's the truth. Is that you have to do the hard work. And part of it is, and I go back to being authentic, right? I don't reach out to people that I don't respect. Like if I see someone that doing something that I really want to learn from, and it start there. Most of my sponsors start with mentors, right? Because sometimes it's harder for them to become your sponsor immediately. So you start with mentor. So I would pick a specific problem that I want to be solved, right? Instead of trying to say, hey, I want you to be my mentor, and just say, ask for generic advice on your career. For example, one of the executive at my bank did something so well. He was the head of business banking. And every conversation he's in, he has this ability to ask question, like the most insightful question. And he had no problem saying that he doesn't know something. So I saw that and I said, let's call him Paul. Paul, I would compliment him after maybe a presentation or a meeting and said, I love the way you did this, and be super genuine and details about what you love about that, right? And then ask for an opportunity just to have a coffee. Honestly, you'll be surprised. Many executives always want to give back, right? Because I get so happy when someone reach out and say, hey, Min, I actually sponsor and mentors. I've been at Santander for 10 years, probably hundreds, close to like 1,000, either through formal programs or, so reach out, but be specific with your ask and be genuine. And then after that, right, find out how do you add value. If that person interested in something, you do the research, you bring them articles, maybe you have insight within your department that would help their department. Of course, do it in an ethical way, but add value. And then just build that connection over time, find common grounds. But most importantly, when you just do the hard work, that's the foundation, that's the ticket to the game, right? And then everything else, and just the fact that you show up authentically, they see it, and that's why I talk about your essence. It is so important that when someone meet you without you even saying a word, because you show up fully as yourself, they can tell that you're being authentic and that you're not there to play a game. And that is one of the key to my success. People always say, hey, I love your energy. What does that even mean? But that's what it means. It's the essence.
That makes a lot of sense. Even as you're answering the question, I was like, yeah, it all it your entire presentation has been about being grounded and showing up and doing the work, and that makes so much sense. And the idea that you turn a mentor into a sponsor also makes a ton of sense. I have to give a shameless plug at this point while we um, continue to if you've got any questions, please feel free to type them in the chat or in the Q&A. But I have to plug BU Connects because that is a great place to identify a mentor, right? You mentioned a mentor is somebody you can go to and say, hey, listen, I'm trying to grow in these areas and I'm wondering if you can help me. BU Connects, people sign up specifically to offer mentorship and career connections to others. And so if you're somebody, whether it's inside your organization or in your industry, great place to find a mentor that maybe someday could become a sponsor. So um, I thought of one other question I wanted to ask you. Oh, you were talking a little bit about you referred to it as clarity, and you sort of walked people through the process of identifying like what are the problems that you solve and boiling it down into that one sentence. We spend a lot of time. I've hosted a lot of webinars on the 30-second elevator pitch. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that term. Is that the same thing, or are those somehow different from each
It,
other?
it is similar. It's
Okay.
similar. It kind of boiling down to your brand DNA, right? What do you stand for?
Yeah.
For me, it's all about joy. Success is not like you had to define that for you. What do you stand for? And and just say, I help whoever you want to help, right? I help. For me, it's high achievers, professionals that have done the thing, but now might feel a little bit lackluster and not as fulfilled, to find that joy again by just fully owning themselves. So authenticity and joy are some of the things that I want to align myself with.
Yeah. Um, so you mentioned throughout, your spotlight framework is 9 pillars, and we only had time to focus on two today. I'm curious to know, with the clients that you work with, which pillars are sort of the most challenging for your clients? Like, where do you see people getting hung up the most in trying to work through those pillars?
So the nine pillars, the spotlight is only part of distinguish the D. So my
Oh, got it.
it's actually the 9D framework. So it's more than that.
90s. Oh,
Um,
right, right.
I
Sorry.
I am writing a book on get anything you want. You know, the powerful house path to success, freedom and fulfillment. So the 9Ds, starting with the diagnose, because you had to know where you're going,
Right.
where you are to get to where you want to be,
Yeah,
and you would have to go back and discover which is the pillar I mentioned today. Um, Let
got
me
it.
back just so that we have the visual here. Right here.
There you go. Okay.
Dream
Got it. Right.
is where you just like go crazy. Don't
Yeah.
don't dim your light, go full in. Thank you, Melissa. I appreciate that. Then
Uh,
design. But honestly, throughout this, the two, when you really think about standing out, is the two pillars.
yeah.
But there's a lot of people who really struggling with design.
Yep. That makes a ton
Um,
of sense.
I help a lot of people make the tough decision. Um, and dynamize is where this is a pillar that make me really happy when I talk about it because it's resourcefulness. It's for people like me who didn't grow up with a lot of resources. And you had to be resourceful no matter what, right? It's not about what you have, but how do you find out? And this is and I love one of the book, kind of I mentioned a little bit during this presentation, the third door. It's like if you can't get in traditional way, you find a window, you just get creative and you get in. I think Ingo asked the question, was there ever a moment you felt like giving up? If yes, how did you push through? Oh, so many times I want to give up. So many times after so many no's. But I'll share with you something that's just so interesting. When I was I think 6 years old, I overheard my mom and my aunt talking. So apparently my mom had went to like a fortune teller, which is my aunt's father, to see, oh, how my life would look like. So he detailed it all, but then we had a storm and the paper flew away. So my mom was so sad that it got away, but I was standing there listening, and my aunt said, "Didn't he say that she's going to be so rich? She's going to be someone huge and have a lot of houses." That's what I heard. And every time uh, I'm about to give up, I'm like, I'm that person. I'm going to be someone. I'm going to make a difference. I can't stop now. So if you don't have that story, right, that helps you, just just make one for yourself. Just know that you are meant for more, right? Like the fact that you are here on this earth is a miracle, and that you have to just take it, go full on, right? And if there's that moment of giving up, I often think about my mom. She's my anchor, right? So that's why I ask you, who are you doing it all for? It might not be like this huge purpose, because my purpose, I really want to build an orphanage one day because I was so lucky. My mom, a single mom, but she was so strong, but not all children have that. So that is, I feel like one day, right now, I just donate, but one day I really want to make that dream come true. So that's the big P, a purpose, right? But normally for me, the purpose is just make my family, provide for them, for my kids, for my mom and my husband, right? So just think about who you're doing it for every time you feel like you want to give up.
So, man, I think when you mentioned that you had a free workbook that you'd share with folks if they emailed you, it was a dive into
The
distinguish and
spotlight,
discover, but
the
the
whole thing, the
yeah,
whole
okay.
pillars and the spotlight as well.
Great. Well, I will make sure to share your email address in a follow-up with everybody. But yeah, if you want to get to the end, I'm definitely curious to see what's in there. So you've shared your website and your email here and LinkedIn. I will make sure to share that with everybody as well. And as a reminder, as you mentioned, we are going to share a copy of your deck with everybody via email that you signed up with. So, man, this you really knocked me over today in a way I wasn't expecting. And quite frankly, I mentioned earlier, I've hosted many of these, but I can't remember one where I started out on the verge of tears and ended at the verge of tears. You telling that story about you and your mom and Subway and the the family celebration you had at the end. This is really, you gave me so much to think about, and I know that you've done the same for alumni and students around the world today. So thank you so much for sharing your time with us.
I really appreciate that, Jeff. Such a pleasure to be here with everyone. So thankful for this opportunity. And if you need help, reach out to me. I'm always just, I guess, a LinkedIn message away.
Well, I thank you again, man. I want to thank all of you for tuning in from wherever you are. Really want to thank those of you who've supported BU with your dollars. We really appreciate your support. Um, and I want to let folks know we do have another career webinar actually coming up. Our next one is tomorrow. It's with an amazing BU alum named Kathy Caprino, and she's going to do a presentation called 7 Key Steps to Surviving and Thriving Through Uncertain Times. And that certainly touched on the question from Ingo about, persevering through difficulties. So we still have, you're still able to sign up for that session tomorrow on our website at bu.edu/alumni. As a reminder, we talked about BU Connects. Make sure you sign up for that. It's a great way to build connections and hopefully find a mentor and eventually turn them into a sponsor. Thanks again, everybody, for your time. Have a great day or a great evening, and thank you again, Min. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody. Bye bye.